Mudslinging, name-calling, scandal. No, this is not a new Fox primetime show. In fact, I don't think even we could make this one up. Chicago's runoff election has become so riddled with infighting, it seems like it could be a scripted soap. Following all the twists and turns is Cindy Canary from the Illinois Campaign for Political Reform. Cindy, thanks for joining us this morning.
My pleasure.
Let's talk about some of these races. There are a dozen runoff races in the aldermanic races. What is the overriding theme here? It seems to me that it's money at this point.
It's definitely money, and it's really a race for the heart and soul of the city council, with money on the mayor's side, the chamber against the unions, SEIU. So we're seeing some big money.
How much money are we talking about here? I hear some of these races literally hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes, I'm projecting that at least 3 races will top the $750,000 mark.
That's unbelievable.
It's absolutely unbelievable for a ward which has, what, about 60,000 people?
Mm-hmm.
So how did we ever get here, Cindy? I mean,
and how do we get out of here?
Better question, yeah.
Well, you know, we both know the answer to that. Once this door is opened, it establishes a new threshold for running for the council, and it's going to be ever increasingly expensive, unfortunately. And I'm not sure that that's what these city council seats were ever meant to represent, is it?
Well, that's absolutely right, Jack. And this money isn't coming from the people in the community.
No, it's coming from the Chamber of Commerce on one side, as you indicated, on what you call the mayor's side, and on the other side, it's coming from the unions, labor unions, primarily the SEIU. There were a number of aldermen this week that you saw last week who felt very strongly that these union donations should be limited. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think that union donations should be limited, but I also feel that business donations should be limited, and probably individual donations. I mean, we've got a couple of individuals.
But it's a First Amendment right, isn't it, to give money?
It's not according to the U.S. Supreme Court. We certainly limit giving in our presidential elections. Most states limit giving. The idea that somebody can come in and give $100,000 or $200,000, I think is a little out of whack.
What makes an aldermanic seat that valuable? That's what I want to know.
Well, it's a pretty sweet job, but you know, I think that this really is about Chicago in a period of change, and the SEIU trying to establish some of the dominance that they showed they were able to established in the State House a couple of years back.
Well, and what they're worried about, very honestly, is that they're worried about maintaining union membership. They're worried about what amounts to minimum wage in the city of Chicago, and whether or not we're going to see a growing disparity between those at the top and those at the bottom. That would be the union argument. So what's wrong with trying to flip some people who oppose their big box concerns?
Well, you know, I think a lot of their concerns are important concerns that we should be addressing in the city. I don't think that the real issue is big box. I think big box is kind of the subtext for the issue of affordable housing, healthcare, jobs. But I think that it gets very concerning when you come in with just limitless amounts of money to try to put this agenda on. You know, if it shakes things up on the council, we have more debate. That's a good thing, but we're changing the nature of our political system by doing it this way.
So let's talk a little about the mudslinging, as we said in the setup. I get, as every reporter in town I'm sure does, 3 or 4 tips a day, phone calls a day, from somebody telling us how their side's been done wrong. Of course, they don't do anything to the other side. They've never said anything bad, but it's all... What's going on in this area? Is it dirtier than it's ever been? I mean, Chicago has certainly a history of campaign shenanigans.
Well, this is just downright wacky. First of all, we've never seen this many runoffs before.
Right.
But we are seeing, you know, name calling. We saw the little incident in the 43rd where they were giving out drinks coupons for early voting.
Space politics. Of course, there's going to be name calling. I mean, what we're talking. The difference is the name calling is now taking place on TV, as opposed to on door-to-door knocks and the kind of traditional ward politics we've seen in the past.
But the kind of name calling we're seeing, I think, is also a lot harsher. I mean, we saw a lot of allegations of racism and anti-Semitism in the 50th. In Shirley Coleman's ward, we saw, you know, her saying that she had saved her opponent from alcoholism and her opponent denying that. The Now thing with Larry Fioretti and
so how do you clean it up?
You know, that I don't think you do legislatively. People either get sick of it or they allow it.
So a 30% turnout is people being sick of it, isn't it?
Well, that's certainly what we saw before, and I think we're going to see minimal turnout as we go into this election.
Even in the wards where they're hotly contested
I'm afraid
races?
so.
Really? You think
Yeah.
people are that turned off?
I think
by
people
this?
are turned off.
Because
I
I've
think
driven through some of these areas and you
a lot
see
of
yard signs all over the place, right?
Yeah, but I don't think the turnout will be too high.
And the
maybe in a couple wards, maybe in
The irony is, Cindy, that even when it's all over, the mayor's not really going to have a contentious city council, is he?
You know, at the
I
end
mean,
of the day,
do you
he's
really
still
think
going to
this
get his
is-
agenda through.
Yes, and quite easily. I mean, with votes in the 40s. So what is the ground skirmish about? What has made these seats so valuable?
I think it's really about power. And it's about the mayor saying, I don't want to be challenged. You know, the status quo works very well, thank you very much. And we're willing to fight fire with fire.
So let's look at a couple of these races. What are the ones to watch? I mean, as we say, there's 12 runoff races in the Chicago aldermanic elections. What are a couple you're keen in on?
We should certainly be watching the second, which is Madeline Haycock and Larry Fioretti. The third, which is Tillman and Pat Dowell. Those are both very, very expensive races. The 50th, which is Bernie Stone and Nazy Doler. Bernie Stone's our oldest city council member, and a lot going on there. And then the Matlack-Wegaspec race.
I've been covering that a little bit this
yeah.
week myself, yeah.
There have been a few things going on there. A lot of kind of establishment money and union money coming in on both sides there as well.
Any hope that we'll see all of this change 4 years from now? Or is this just the beginning, Cindy?
I don't think there's any hope until we put in some real campaign contribution
Look
limits.
at the money raised in the governor's race, the money Barack Obama just raised this week. I mean, money is the mother's milk of politics, and here we are. We can rant and rave all we want about it.
And we do.
I don't see it's going to change much.
Well, you know, I think there's a difference between what we do in Illinois, where you can raise money in any amount you want.
The Wild West.
You could go out and raise $50 million. You know, Senator Obama, he's limited to $2,300, and as we read this week, he got a lot of that money in small donations from a lot of people, and I think that does make a difference.
Cindy, thank you. Very interesting stuff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.